up, man? What's up, Roman? How's it going? Thanks for joining the stream. Um, I'm lagging out here. I have no idea why, but hopefully that stops. Yeah, man. Thanks for joining. I mean, I believe we touched base on X, and you told me what you're working on. And initially, I thought you were like a trading terminal, but you're actually like a full-fledged analytics platform. So I thought that was really interesting. Maybe if you want, we can start out by maybe if you want to introduce yourself and what you're working on.
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks for having me on. So basically, we're working on Bravado. You are correct that we are a terminal, but we're a little bit more than that. So essentially, like what we've discovered is when we started building Bravado, we knew we wanted like our core product to be like a trading front end, right? I've been trading on Polymarket for a while now, and there were some things where I didn't like personally. However, like we knew that we wanted to build like our own infrastructure, and we started building from the ground up. And as we were doing that, like we made a lot of discoveries in terms of like where Polymarket lacks, and given like our background, so we knew that we could kind of build it on our own back end and figure it out ourselves, right? So we still do have the terminal. We have people trading on it. We have all the stuff that like everybody needs, from like LP automations to copy trading, all that cool stuff. But what I would say is where we are different from all the majority of other terminals, or even aggregators, is like we have our own data. So we don't use the Polymarket endpoints for anything except like the execution. And obviously the order book, that's all from Polymarket. But all the data, all the leaderboards, all of that stuff is done on our backend. And this backend is also like accessible, like it's a product. If somebody wants to use it, feel free to reach out. Like we work with some of the larger terminals in the space as well to power them. Working on getting like more partnerships, and then even going like the institutional side. So yeah, we have like products like our trade APIs, what basically allows you to, like, if you want to run like your own sophisticated front end, um, and you want to do like stop loss, take profit, pegged orders, iceberg orders, TWAP, ACTWAP, all of those are fully available. The data API is just like we built everything from the ground up. So we re-indexed everything you possibly could imagine that's on chain, for Polymarket, like to Genesis block, which I think was like block 7 million or 6 million on Polygon. So, and doing this, like we found a lot of discrepancies between Polymarket. A big one is like the neg risk markets. We're probably gonna have a blog post come out about that in like the next couple of days, probably early next week. And basically like how we like discoveries that we made as to why Polymarket is wrong and why we think we're right. Do you know what a neg risk position is, or I guess like a market like that?
I know only because we built our exchange, and honestly, my developer probably knows a little bit more. But maybe for people who don't know what it is, maybe if you want to just kind of explain what it is, because I'm sure some people aren't familiar.
Yeah, absolutely. So Polymarket gives you the ability to like merge positions. Um, it allows you to merge positions on like the same outcome. So like one market, and then it also allows you to, even some scenarios, transfer shares to different ones. So a good example is like who would win the World Cup, right? There's what, I think 50 teams or something playing. And if you have like Brazil, yes, you could swap your shares for no, on all of the other markets, and vice versa. So if you have no on like 50, or like let's say like on 5 teams, and then and let's say you have $300 worth of shares, right? You could swap that into one yes for like let's say Brazil, or whatever it does. Um, this isn't proven, but the theory that we have, and I'll go into like some examples, is essentially what we think Polymarket does is the the price that like the price of the order book, um, from when you click sell, that's what it calculates as like a sell. and then we don't know how, but randomly it decides your entry price. Super
Mm.
random. I don't know how it is. I can't figure it out, but that's like kind of what we figured out. I'll share my screen and I'll go over like a good example.
Yeah, that's crazy. It's crazy that you're able to pick up on data that you think the like Polymarket itself is getting wrong, which I think is
Yeah.
interesting.
So this is something like, I mean, we spent a long time kind of doing this, or figuring it out. Um, okay. Well, it won't allow me to share my screen, but I could point you to where, um, see, and you could just share it in yours. So
Yeah,
basically,
sure, sure.
I'll send that on Telegram.
Let me pull it up quick.
So you could open up this link. You could open up this link.
Yeah, yeah. Let me get this. Okay. Hold on 1 minute. I'll put
Yep.
this stuff up here.
Perfect. Okay. So I just shared a couple of links with you, and I'll go over like the like which ones we can start with. I think we go to the Polymarket link to start first.
This one
Uh,
right here.
so if you click like the all, like this number is wrong.
Okay.
And if you scroll down on the positions, so like I know the traders whose account this is. So everything that we like that I'm about to say has been confirmed by the actual trader. You see how the average is like 1.4 on all of these?
Yeah.
That is wrong.
Interesting. So it's wrong because basically because of uh like would you mind explaining a little bit? Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, that's interesting. That's
Yeah. So what the trader had is, I'm not sure on the exact positions he had, but he probably had a no position on somebody, and then on this market, like who will be the people's sexiest man alive in 2026, and then he converted them to yes across what is, I think, like 5 to 10 different like outcomes, right? So you kind of like that's what neg risk is like essentially. So you don't like lose as much if you're wrong on one specific outcome. So you kind of, it's like almost like a hedge, right? And what is wrong is, so the current is accurate, the average is wrong, and then the value is wrong. Value is wrong because average is wrong, if that makes sense. And if you even go to the like Polymarket analytics section, um, there is number is also different, and this one is even worse. Not to like bash anybody, but like it's we the number we have internally, and we verified this with the trader, obviously. It is 3,856 as of the most recent one where we ran it. So it's like almost,
really
yeah, it's about
wow.
to 2K difference, a little over. And if you go and like predict folio, I couldn't even find this wallet for some reason. Um,
That's really off. I mean, that's like so I mean that's like half the value of this basically, right? I
Correct.
mean, that's crazy. So basically there's a lot of analytics right now that people are using, posting about online that is actually just flat out wrong because yeah, and is it only those two data points? Is it only the the average and the value here that are the things that get messed up, or is it more than that?
Um, so it technically trickles down to everything, because if you don't have a proper average buy price, the only thing that I would say that is accurate is current. And it also depends, for example, like how, if you sell your position, all these things. So it impacts everything. Like it starts from the top and then kind of like a bottleneck down, but it impacts essentially everything on the profile. All of this like has been verified by the trader. This is like a his like he has this account specifically for neg risk, because it impacts like his total P&L inaccurately. Um, so that's like a big find that we had. Another thing that we also discovered like while building all of this is what we call like dust positions. This one isn't super like, it's not going to make or break it, but there are a lot of like dust positions that are, like 1 cent or something. Sometimes if you lose a position, or you might have like a dust position, what we call it, where you just didn't claim it, right? And it's like a cent. There are traders that have thousands of these, especially bots, and it might impact your portfolio by like if you have a good amount of them, like $1 or $10, like whatever it is, right? But this is something we take into account as well, where it's like we try to discard these dust positions just because it does have an impact on the portfolio balance. Um, yeah, that's kind of that.
And those dust positions would build up over time. So like if someone accumulates dust, eventually you'd get like, $10 or something like that might set things askew and stuff like that.
Correct, exactly.
Okay, interesting.
It's not
Yeah,
like super like make or break, but if you want to get as accurate as possible, you kind of have to disqualify those.
it sounds like the neg risk is kind of make or break though.
Yes, correct. The neck risk is the biggest one that we've seen. Where like, hey, this is very off and very wrong. Um, it also goes even deeper for like some of the larger accounts. Like if you could search like RN1.
RN1, this one.
Let me see. Yes, correct. So all time it has 10 million. We have, where is it? Let me find it. We have 9,974,890. So a good amount off, like over like 300 grand. That is different compared to this trader. I'm
And is
Polymarket.
any so is anyone tackling this? Like, have any of the analytics account like Polymarket platforms solved this issue yet, or is it just you guys who have kind of made this realization?
Yeah, there's one other one which is called Struct. I'll give them credit where credit's due. They have a pretty good product, and they're the ones that we also kind of compare our values to. Um, because if you look, even if you search up like RN1 on Polymarket Analytics, it's going to show you something very different than what Polymarket has. I'm actually curious if you could search it up, like what it says there. So we have 10.1 here on Polymarket. Um,
RN1.
yeah, they have 10.2. Um,
Yeah, yeah,
almost.
that's wild.
So all the thing is, like you see, all of them have different scenario, like different numbers, um, and things. I think it's like things like this are going to be super important, especially if you want to run like back testing strategies, or even copy trading. One thing that we also do is like with fairly high accuracy, we are able to identify what wallets are like bot accounts or like basically market makers, right? This is important because if you just like let's say there's so many like copy trading tools out there, right? um, but if you go and you just go on the leaderboard and you just copy like the most profitable like person, um, it might not be the best idea because they might literally be a bot, and they might be trading $100,000 worth of a single like trade, and if they're literally going for that like 0.5% gain, and then if you're copy trading with like $10, you're not gonna really move the needle, right? So this is something like we have our own leaderboard, and because like we're able to flag which accounts we think are bots, so you can include in the leaderboard, you could exclude in the leaderboard. Like this is super useful internally for like if you're deciding to like who to copy trade basically.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I do think that that's pretty useful. It looks like you have this live feed trade here as well, which is pretty cool. And
Yeah,
you,
all of those are customizable. So
yeah,
if you even click on live trade feed, you could, yeah, to whatever you want, to portfolio movers, to follow traders. So if you have follow traders, you could instantly see like your traders' live transactions. Like for
Yeah.
example, I follow like AE News, so I'm able to get that down there. Um, but yeah, we essentially like we took like a little bit different approach in terms of like how we wanted to present this. Even if you scroll down to like any of the markets, and you could click on any of it. Um, oh
I got to connect my wallet.
yeah, I need to get you an access code.
Oh,
It's okay. We could do it later, but sorry, go back. Um, don't click the hyperlink, but just click like anywhere in the box for the market.
anywhere in the like just like these tabs up here.
No, like in the like market row itself. Yeah, like any of those, just not the hyperlink.
Okay.
Yeah, there we go. And you're able to get like a quick snapshot view. Um, Essentially, like if you just want a quick glance, that's kind of like the approach that we took. And then if you want to go further, you could obviously go on the market itself. Um, and yeah,
Yeah, that's really cool. And you even have like the resolution source here. And yeah, this is a really intense terminal. I mean, and it's not like the ones I typically see, which are, kind of like they have the markets here in like a library, and then you can click on the markets. Like you guys go right to the live trade feed, right to following traders, which I think is pretty cool.
yeah.
And it looks like you also have like kind of custom tabs here set up for like, things that are happening right now, like World Cup.
Let me
Um,
actually let me send you a code just so you could, I guess, even just check out the um, terminal itself, because that's something like we are definitely proud of. So if you just log in, you should be able. You can use this code at because we are still in private beta.
let's see. And you guys just recently got a grant from Polymarket, correct?
Yeah, we got a grant a couple months ago now. Maybe I want to say in April. So a lot of it, reinvesting. Well, all of reinvesting back into try to do Ethereum. All going back into Bravado. Like we hired it. Like we worked with this design studio for all of this. I'm very big on like design being a moat, especially like in 2026 where you have everything vibe coded. So we really try to kind of emphasize that. Um,
Cool, cool. Grant access, and let's see if I can
is
get
it
in here.
working or no?
I'm not sure if it is.
Try to refresh.
Yeah, let me see. Um, okay,
There
okay.
we go. And then you
Yeah,
can probably skip all. Skip all.
let's see. I don't know why my mouse isn't working. I'm having issues.
Try to refresh again then.
Yeah, let me see.
Mm,
Grant. No, on
Ah,
my side, it's not working.
yeah,
I
I
don't
know.
think it's your
Yeah,
platform issue. I think it's my mouse is having an like I don't know, something on my computer's having a problem.
I got you. I mean, I could take a screenshot and just share it with you so you could take.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, let me find like an interesting market. Okay. Um, all right. Um, I just shared an image with you, and then I'll share one more.
All right. Let me bring that up here. Let's see. Let me take this. Unshare my screen for a bit, or maybe I'll reshare it. All right. We'll zoom in on our private conversation just really briefly.
I'll get.
Okay. Are you able to kind of see this?
Yeah, yeah. Are you able to open it? Like, click on it to make it larger.
Uh, I think maybe. Let me see. I don't know. Maybe I can zoom in or something like that.
If you click on the image itself, it should pop up to the, or
Oh,
maybe
is
not.
it showing the larger version or no?
Yeah, if you click on it, left mouse. No.
Okay. No, it's for some reason it's not showing the larger version. That's weird.
Got it.
Um,
Yeah, I mean, I guess we could, from like what you could see, something that like we did interesting is all the data that I've been speaking about for the past 20 minutes. Um, Essentially, like we try to give it to users who are just trading. So this data, by the way, is mock data, so it's not live yet. But in theory, traders who go on to Bravado will be able to see for like yes and no for a market, they'll be able to see like total P&L, cumulative flow, volume distribution, smart money flow, average buy price volatility, total holders, account age, whale concentration, and possible insiders. Um, all of these are like custom built analytics that you won't be able to get via like Polymarket endpoints. This is something that like we knew that when we were building Bravado, we like data was going to be like a big thing. And essentially, like we knew we in order to do it, we had to build from the ground up. So that's basically the approach that we took.
would you think that, like, in terms of, I think it's interesting because you guys are really focusing on data. Did you decide to focus on data after, like, were you interested more in the trading aspect first, and then you kind of decided to move to data, or was that always the thing that you wanted to lead with?
I think we initially led with data because like we had to really figure out like what was going to make us stand apart. Like there's so many terminals out there, right? Like I'm not going to deny it. It's not like and it's super easy to spin one up nowadays. Polymarket does have like decent enough infra to use it. But then like our approach is like, okay, like how do we go the extra mile and the extra step? So like the next thing that we're going to be focusing on is what we're going to call like smart scores. And these are basically trader, like essentially it's going to be signal. It's going to be like on a scale of 1 to 10. And like we have like, we're going to develop a formula. We like want to work with some like MIT or Harvard, like mathematicians, like PhD students or professors to really figure out like, hey, what is the proper formula that we can use? And all of this is going to be like visible in Bravado. And the whole point that like right now, if you go in a market, you don't know like who your counterparty is. You don't really. You could check the holders. That's fine. But then you like just checking the holders. You have to kind of know who that trader is, right? So like if you just see like AE News, for example, right? If you're like new to the platform or you're just like not in the Twitter space and not following who these like known traders are on Polymarket, you're gonna have no idea who it is. Um, but like you're not gonna know that he's a sharp and a good trader. So as a result, we kind of want to go like create a formula where it takes all of these factors into play and gives them like a ranking of like 1 through 10. And if you want, as soon as you log on to Bravado, you'll be able to see like, hey, that these like sharps are buying yes, or they're buying no, and that could help you, influence your decision. Maybe you have a no position and you see like sharps are accumulating yes, it might be a signal to get out, or vice versa, right? Um, so that's something like we're kind of very bullish on. I think we'll see it in the platform with time come.
Do you think that data is more important for prediction markets than, let's say, it was for crypto? In turn, the only reason I say that is because I'm seeing like so many data, like deep data research plays for prediction markets in a way that I don't think I am. We have the big data plays in the crypto world, right? We have Arkham, I think it's called. We have, a few others. But overall, with prediction market platforms, it seems to be highly prioritized, even more so.
Yeah,
Would you agree with that?
I do. I think a lot of like prediction. I remember like when prediction markets started picking up, and obviously you had a lot of meme coin traders enter. Um, I would say it's a different game because meme coin trading is there's a lot of stuff that does translate over, but there's also a lot of stuff that doesn't. I think something like that transfers over that's a good trait is like I would argue like being chronically online and kind of like knowing where to look. So like back in the day, if you caught a ticker early, if you were in an insider group or whatever, you had a good time. Um, Something that's very similar with prediction markets, except you might not have the time to make. You might not have the same exact time. So, like a good example is like the Iran war, right? News just started breaking, and like that's it. If you were there, if you were one of the first to know, um, you like you could enter the position, and I think it was like basically like a that it was trading probably like at 8 to 10 cents for no. So you could have made 100x return, or rather, sorry, 10x. So think like opportunities like that do exist, and I think news is very important. Having a good news source. This is something that like we're planning on investing as well. Like there are some traditional news sources that are the 20-10 milliseconds in latency. From those you could set up automations. Like I have a good amount of like trade like friends who are traders who are traditional traders, right? And they share like some pretty interesting feedback. It's like everybody knows Bloomberg. Like we all know like what like, Bloomberg is, but Bloomberg is really good at like one thing, and that is news, or like being a news source and analytics source, right? They're not really known for their execution. Like you could theoretically execute on any brokerage. It doesn't have to be Bloomberg, but like they are fairly good in news. Um, so that's something that we've seen, and I think that is going to translate over to prediction markets, and especially like automations are going to be big as well. So like setting up, excuse me, automations. Sorry, like where if X happens, then Y will trigger.
Yeah, I've heard that Bloomberg is also a like its own network, right? Like its own social network. You get to talk to like the other Bloomberg terminal traders. I mean, this is very important as well. So you get like that news, but you also get the inside information. So I have yet to see that in prediction markets in a huge way. I know that there are some social applications that are kind of building, but I don't know if any of them are building like private networks like Bloomberg has.
Yeah, it's a good point. I think you will see it more often. Come with time. The problem with this is like it's you still need a lot more adoption. Like yeah, you're right. Like there's like memes where like people are like selling their Ferrari on Bloomberg, or like selling a
That's
watch.
crazy.
Yeah, so it is true. Like it's I do agree with you. And I think with time, like that's what it will become. And that like but that to start that like that platform just needs a good amount of adoption, to even have those users, and then from there you can kind of go about it and grow.
So, do you ever look at your analytics at all? Like, do you ever take a look at like what data is being surfaced by what you're building? Maybe some trends that are happening with traders, new strategies that people are using. Curious if you've picked up on any interesting data trends when you've been building this
Yeah,
analytic.
I have. So like something that I look at is often is like my like follow traders. So if I'm just like I try to like practice bravado is like I sit on the homepage a lot just to see what the traders that I'm following are doing, and like I'm able to see that like AE News is like buying positions in this market. Um, Regarding analytics, like it's probably the first thing like my flow is like when I trade is um, I would go on to like I view the holders, and this is where I think like our like score is going to be super important, because right now I view like the yes and no holders on both sides, um, and I also view like their P&Ls and like their trading strategy overall. Like what is their hit rate? So like on Bravado, you're able to like hover over a trader and see that like oh he has like a 46% hit rate, right? Or maybe it's like 79%. Um, so I do usually, I think something like important to do is look at your counterparties. Um, so I do that a lot. There have been times where I have exited positions because I saw that a counterparty was accumulating the other side, and like I lost money on it, but I would have lost a lot more if I didn't exit. Like a good one was there was like a chess tournament, um, Norwegian chess tournament, and I was accumulating at that moment who was like the favorite, and then a trader I follow I noticed started accumulating on the other side, and I was like, you know what, like I'm gonna take a exit, and I'm happy I did it because he was right, he and I was wrong, um, but it was like a lot. It would have been a lot worse hit, right? So yeah, I do look also like a big a stat I look at is like how old are the wallets that are trading. Usually, like what I've seen is a lot of the older wallets are I would say are kind of sharps. Not always, but it's you're gonna have a lot higher chance versus if you're like a newbie and you see that like so yeah. If I see like it's a market and there's like a overwhelming amount of new wallets, it's not always the best sign for me. Obviously, you could have possible insiders, whatever you want to call it, um, but it's also not the best thing to see. So that's something I look at.
Yeah, I'm here's a question that I often think about, and I'm wondering if you've ever thought about it as well. At what point in the money loss of a trade, like when you look at your P&L and you're like, wow, I've lost 50 grand or whatever, or I've lost like an insane amount. Is there ever a point where you should be like, maybe prediction markets are not for me? Like you think that there's a threshold that like a dollar amount value lost, where you say maybe this is not the right thing for me at this point.
Yeah, I think it honestly comes down to like almost a principle of gambling. If you generally think like that it's ruining your life and you're in a bad spot because of it, you should probably stop doing it. The same goes for everything though in life, like everything in moderation, whether it's alcohol, drugs, or whatever it is, right? Um, so if you have a 10 million bankroll and you lost 50K, it's probably not gonna hurt you too much. But if you're just like constantly like trying to win it back, trying to win it back, I personally like I'm have like a minus $30 P&L. But like there have been times where I was down like a couple that like not a couple thousand, but like almost $1,000, and then started climbing back up. I think it's just being patient and um, like a big market that I am trading right now is the um, uh, Claude Fable 5 to be like essentially re-released again. I bought No, and then I bought No by June. Okay, yeah. I mean, I guess I say the story. So I bought Yes before July 1st, and then I bought No before June 26th. I kind of panicked and sold my Yes position, and that Yes position would have basically 4x if I have just kept it. And I was also down like even a couple $100 on my No position for June 26th, but I'm happy like I didn't panic and didn't just cut it short because it's now like at break even basically. Um, so that worked out well for me. So sometimes, but obviously like hindsight 2020, I should have kept that Yes position, taken the profit, and almost like have it like a I was using it as a hedge, and then I overthought. Um, so yeah, it's things like that happen. Um, yeah,
Yeah, the hedge trades are some of the best trades I've ever made. When
yeah,
I've gone in with the mindset of this is like me buying insurance, a lot of times those end up to be some of my most profitable trades. And I don't know why. I haven't figured out why that mindset leads to it. It's true for crypto, true for prediction markets. Like I'll see a market and I'll think to myself, like right now I know someone who is working in the AI sector, and they just got hired by a quant firm in New York, and they took a hedged bet. Basically, they said to themselves, "Look, AI might replace my job in the next 5 years." So in March they were just like, "I'm just going to go all in on AI." Bought like a ton of calls on Nvidia and AMD. It's now in the millions,
Yeah.
And the whole reason for holding was like, oh well, I should hold because it's like insurance for my job.
Right.
And so it ended up. So I think maybe like the reason why that happens is because you go in thinking, okay, this is like an insurance for me, and then you end up holding it until it's profitable. So maybe that's like one of the reasons why. But those hedge bets are some of the best bets, I think.
I agree. Yeah, that's a good take. Another one is I think it's like a good example is like if you generally know you're right, the market doesn't always show that. So a good example is do you follow basketball at all?
A little bit. I should follow it more. I mean, we're following it now.
Right. So I don't sports bet, but what I do bet is on outcomes in sports, if that makes sense. So like a good trade I had earlier last year was like cool when like NFL Coach of the Year, NBA Sixth Man of the Year for this previous season, and then another one was like who will be the first overall pick, which happened
Mm.
I think yesterday. um, and it was like AJ Debonsa. And if you look at even just like the chart, um, I my average buy price was around 70 cents, and it peaked to 90, and then it dropped down to like 65 because there was some news getting reported that like, oh, he might not like Daryl Peterson was like kind of pushing to be the first overall pick, but I knew that he was going to be like I just had the conviction. So I actually doubled down and bought more shares like during the dip, and then I would keep accumulating like whenever there was like opportunities to buy. So I'm happy I did that. Like I just had it's like good like an outcome like that is kind of, and then I had a hedge that like he would be like the second overall pick, so both of them hit. So I was pretty happy with that.
Yeah, I think having high conviction is really important, and it's even more important. I'll be honest with you, not to go on, on too much of a tangent, but some of my worst trades have been when I've made like in perps trading where I've made the stop losses too tight. And it's not even that I got screwed over. It's not even that it was a bad call. I mean, like a lot of times I end up being right, but but I set the stop losses too tight because of a conservative mentality. And I'm just like, oh, okay, well, I don't want to lose this much. It's kind of like, whatever, right? Those have been some of my worst trades ever. Again, it's about mindset, right? How you're approaching it. In prediction markets, are there? I know there's limit orders, but is there like a mechanism for stop loss?
So
Um,
Bravado has it. We built it. We have stop loss. We have take profit. We have like a cool thing that we have is called iceberg orders. So this is like for like really advanced traders, I would say, or even like prop firms. Basically, what an iceberg order is let's say you are fairly confident and you want to accumulate 100,000 shares at a certain price, but you don't want to show your hand. What that means is you don't want to tell the market that you want to accumulate 100,000 shares. So what you do is it's like icebergs, right? So it would be like first post a limit for like 10K shares. If those get filled, you deposit another 10K shares at that price, and it keeps going until it hits the total amount, right? So it it's like kind of useful for if you don't want to like give away like your position, like your conviction. Um, and another thing that we have is trailing stop loss. So let's say you buy a position at 50 cents, and then you can set a limit for how much you wish to like take profit at. So let's say you buy at 50 cents, then it goes to 80 cents, and then you have like a 5 cent ticker. And if it goes down to 75, it will auto sell for you. So you kind of lock in your profit, um, and like take like essentially like a take profit for when like the market peaked, and then like 5 cents or whatever you want to set it to when it dropped a little bit.
yeah, it would be helpful. I mean, definitely like any trading terminal that supports that. I think because I don't think Polymarket does it natively. I know
No,
they do limit orders, but I don't believe they do stop losses and stuff like that
they
natively.
don't. Yeah, we have it. We've had people using it. So yeah, it's good to go essentially.
Have you? Okay, so one thing I've been thinking about recently is I've been thinking about the hype cycle that we experienced in September for prediction markets. Like last year during the fall, massive hype cycle for prediction markets. I believe Polymarket and Kelshi were kind of in this mindshare war where they were trying to attract Twitter talent, which kind of led to a huge, uh, you know, a lot of people talking about prediction markets. So now we're in this phase where I do think some of that has calmed down a bit. We're seeing like less people with badges from both the Polymarket and Kelshi side. We're seeing like, almost badge descaling, right? Like they're sort of slowly cutting off badges as as things move on. What do you think? Have you observed what is the current metrics on like the Polymarket Kelshi hype cycle? Are we seeing retention? Are we seeing growth? Are we seeing churn? Like, are users like coming in, leaving right away? I'm curious to get your take. How, what have you observed there?
Yeah, I don't have the exact numbers, but I can tell you like what I've seen. I'm fairly certain the volume is still high, so it hasn't dropped. Um, I have seen like a lot more LARPing, if you want to call it that, which a big part of it is obviously because of the quote unquote airdrop. But I also think like this, like some of these people who are LARPing, majority of them probably have traded for a little bit and then kind of, try to be creators or all of this and try to work with the projects that are building in the ecosystem, which is fine, but they're not real traders, right? So it's like you can only talk about it so much, but are you really a real trader? Um, s- I will say I think it's obviously onboarded more users if than it would have if you didn't have this like kind of overstimulating like push from the Polymarket like marketing team. Um, the other part is I'm pretty sure it's like 95% of Polymarket traders are not profitable. And I think it's like 1% of the 1% of profitable traders control majority of the wins. So that's kind of like the one thing there where to be wary of. But it's the same thing with regular trading, right? Majority of people who just like like exit like retail liquidity. It's like exit like retail liquidity, the iconic like phase. So yeah, a lot of them obviously are not profitable, and they will kind of essentially cut their losses and maybe stop trading. But I think it has produced more people trading on Polymarket. The one thing I will be interested in to see is how things will look um, if and when there is an airdrop. I don't know. I have nothing to say, but I don't know. So it's interesting to see. Usually like things slow down, but Hyperliquid, for example, I think they played it well. Where they already had a TGE like years ago, and they're just still seeing growth and growth and growth. I think they have like almost nearly a billion users now for Hyperliquid. I could be wrong on that number, but um, or maybe a million rather. Sorry, but yeah, it's a good amount.
And Hyperliquid is very much the same as an asset category, right? Like you're not, I think the primary difference, yeah. So I remember reading that stat. Like a lot of Polymarket users are in the red, most of them. The second group that's in the red is Hyperliquid users, right? And then the third is surprisingly is pumped out fun. So pumped out fun, it was like 50-50 split. Like 50 people make money, 50 people don't, or 50% of people don't. But the difference is that they're making much smaller amounts on pumped out fun. So you're taking like maybe like a $200 gain or something like that. Whereas in prediction markets, you're looking at like higher gains. I just threw that number out there. But yeah, but Hyperliquid and Polymarket or prediction markets are very similar because it's like a pro trader category almost. You're not kind of there's no well, how should I say this? Like, with retail stocks, you own like an underlying asset, right? And you can hold that asset for 15, 20 years, which a lot of people do. With Polymarket, it's all event based contracts. Usually, you're not holding an event based contract for 15 years. Usually, it's like a year at most. And then with Hyperliquid, of course, it's trading, right? I mean, I guess you could look at it as assets, but for the most part, I would imagine most people are making swing trades. So I don't know. It's a very similar category. I think that the airdrop could bring a lot of volume. We still have people talking about the airdrop in our Telegram like all the time. So I think you bring up a good point there.
The thing is, will there even be an airdrop, right?
Yeah,
Maybe it was just one big marketing push and it worked. So we'll see with that. Obviously, I'm hopeful for one. I think it'll be great for everybody. But like one of my biggest like interests is like, why would they do one, considering ICE is an investor of theirs, and like what's stopping them from just IPOing?
yeah. Also, the crypto markets are terrible right now,
Yeah,
and that would not be a good time to launch a token under any circumstance. I would
right.
think.
I agree. Yeah.
Um, I mean, I would assume that I mean, do you think that they're going like? Are you leaning more towards yes or no? If this were a prediction market, would you say
Um,
like you know
I am leaning towards no in 2026. I would lean.
mostly because of crypto bearishness? You think or
Um, I don't know. I think it's mainly because they want to push the narrative of airdrop as long as possible, and it's the I think the worst thing that I see in the timeline is people trying to justify their losses with the airdrop. Like I saw maybe like three or four different posts where people have like minus 9K P&L, and they're like, "Did I do enough for the airdrop now?" And it's like, if the airdrop never comes, it doesn't matter, right? So I think in terms of trading, like that is a terrible mindset to have. Is I think using Polymarket, you should go into the concept of not even thinking that there is an airdrop. Because if you're just using the platform just to get the possible airdrop and you're down 9 grand, is the airdrop really going to be enough to cover your losses? Probably not. So yeah,
I always say that the best way to hedge yourself as a polymarket trader is, and again, I'm not recommending people do this, but it would work, is just get like a builder's code and then get like the kickback from the fees,
yeah,
or get builder's grants for your volume or whatever.
yep.
I mean, I'm sure there's tons of people that are doing that
Yeah,
with
oh, yeah,
builder's codes that are just discounting their trades, basically.
yeah. And there are definitely a good amount of people, and it makes sense. Like if you're a big whale and you want to do a $1 million buy, you might as well use something like that.
Yeah, yeah, and then you get fee kickbacks and stuff like that, so it would make sense.
Exactly.
Um, okay, cool, cool. So I think so. I don't want to take too much of your time. I know we're almost at 50 minutes here. It was great having you on, by the way. I'm curious what comes next for your platform. So you mentioned that you were right now you're still in beta mode. How long do you plan to stay in beta mode, and when is the public release? And how can someone get access to your platform right now if they want it?
Yeah, if you want to get early access now, you could join our Discord and open up a ticket. I'll help you out, get you onboarded. Um, I think we are probably planning to go public closer towards the end of the year. There is still a lot of things that we have to like sort out, and I'm a very big believer in like a good product. Um, I also don't want to be building for 3 years without launching it. So it is important for people to use it. We have users now. We have like about 10 to 15 private beta users who are using our product weekly. Um, but essentially, yeah, it's just getting the best product first to market. I think is like our priority. We want to get like the data down. We already have it down, but like even just like launching like the accurate like P&L and analytics inside the terminal. Um, and I think just overall, like there's always problems that come around with Polymarket. So I think slowly just like fixing those is kind of our main priority.
You guys also mentioned, or you mentioned to me in private, that you have a few companies that you're working with as well who are using your infra.
Yep.
Um, so would those kind of be like the private users as well, or like there's a whole other side to your business that's basically like providing infrastructure.
Yeah. I think right now we are actually focusing more on the infrastructure. So it's like it's what moves the needle the most. From in my opinion, from like for our like business. So like working with, I think we really want to go deeper on the institutional side. In terms of like, I do think there's going to be a world where State Street, Fidelity, all these people need data, um, and prediction market data. So I think that's kind of like where we want to position ourselves to be like an all-in-one shop for everything.
Yeah, I mean, political analysts as well. I mean, maybe, cultural analysts, I think even non-finance people would be interested in prediction market data, considering that there were so many insider scandals this past, with the military, with like, I think we had one with the US military, we had like a couple others, with Venezuela. Yeah, I mean, I think there's a huge use case for even non-finance people for data.
I agree.
Yeah. Cool. It was great having you on, Roman. Thanks for coming. Yeah, let's touch base again sometime.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on.
Cool.